And welcome back. This is your man Warrior. This is another patron roster review, and this is NHLPreds598 at Adult Gaming. What's up, Adult Gaming? Now, he is able to handle his own. He's a whale, been playing almost a year and a half. He's got plenty, doing great, getting first every day in both arenas. And so really awesome. He's got a 4-star Scion showing it's totally viable at 4 stars, and really just kind of a generalized who to focus on, kind of what's the next Zeta. And so to kind of know this, we kind of have to go through your different factions to see kind of where your strengths lie and where some of the deficiencies lie. And I already have an idea because I've gone through it, obviously, and I know the 2 places I'd like to see you kind of focus on, but let's just kind of go through this together. So the first that we look at is Bounty Hunter, and they are, in comparison to most of your teams, pretty weak. You did say you were working on Dengar for your Bounty Hunters, and you are trying to get them up, and so good on you. And this is one of the 2 factions I would, in fact, highly recommend that you hyper-focus on. You don't have to worry about any Zetas yet. Hopefully a rework coming soon, cross my fingers. But for now, no Zetas, and right now it's just a matter of getting them geared up at gear 11, no higher, but gear 11, they're easily powerful enough to do anything in the dark side territory battles. I don't have any of my Omegas except for Boba Fett. I don't have any other Omegas. I have none of them past gear 11, and I go through it really pretty easily. So definitely gear 11, your Bounty Hunters. When we move to Empire, we see that you have a really good Empire and Imperial Trooper setup. You're doing great with your Imperial Troopers and your Empire, and they're pretty strong. And so the only thing I could say on this is if you're looking for, you said you're kind of wandering almost, figuring it out, just focus on characters that have duality, meaning they're in more than one spot of the game. For example, TIE Fighter Pilot, you've got at gear 11, would be a great character to go back and put 5 dot mods on instead of those 4 dot mods you have. You have a couple of 4 dot mods, so make sure you go in and you fix, if there's a 4 dot, put it to 5 dot. Same thing like if you go into Death Trooper, just take a look. If you see any 4 dot, looks like you have all 5 dot there, but go and visit your pilots and stuff, for your ships, and make sure that your mods on all these characters are 5 dots, which it looks like on Shore Trooper it is, and then go and gear them up. So Shore Trooper could go to gear 12, TIE Fighter Pilot could go to gear 12. So it's kind of finishing off. Since you're a whale, finishing characters off is characters that you use in either arena, because you do number 1 in both arenas. So any characters that get you in number 1 slot for either arena, treat them as gear 12 characters. So TIE Fighter Pilot, Shore Trooper, Death Trooper, those are all characters that are helping you get number 1 in ships. So they all deserve your attention, just like regular arena goes. Now, your first order looked really good, and you actually wanted to know about Zetas and kind of who to Zeta and things like that. And so this is actually the Leadership Merciless Pursuit is the Zeta I would recommend. That's actually the next Zeta that I would recommend, because Kylo Ren Unmasked team, for territory wars and territory battles is a really, really, really solid, but you got to have his Leadership Merciless Pursuit. So definitely recommend Kylo Ren. And what's really cool is your first order is in pretty good shape. I know you said you're waiting for the First Order Executioner to go farmable, and I get it. I'm waiting for the same thing, but you could gear the First Order Executioner up to gear 11 and just let him sit there until the 3 stars goes to 7 stars once he's farmable. So if that's true, you're like me, you're waiting for the farmability, you still have no reason not to take him to level 85 and gear that bad boy up. So get First Order Executioner to gear 11 for now, and that's a lot of work, so work on that. And then also First Order Stormtrooper could be another Zeta after Kylo Ren Unmasked, and get him up to gear 11 or 12, and he's actually got a ship too, so you might want to take him to gear 12. But with that said, your Kylo Ren Unmasked Zeta is definitely first, and then First Order Stormtrooper and Executioner gear up. Other than that, Kylo Ren and First Order TIE Pilot are the other 2 that you'd want, but you have them really good, so you're doing really, really well. It's just kind of about buttoning up some of these characters in each of these factions that you've done. So when looking through all of them, your Empire is strong, your First Order is pretty strong. There's only a couple of characters in each section that you need to fine tune at the high end. But when I looked through, definitely Bounty Hunters were the weakest, and then Nightsisters were the weakest as well. It's like those were two tied for like not doing so well. And I know you're probably thinking, why I don't want to do Nightsisters because Mother Talzin, I don't really have her or Spirit or Zombie. They're all just kind of, you know, I can't farm them and all that kind of stuff. And you also told me you are waiting to farm these characters as well, and I get it. Like eventually they're going to drop it onto the map. They've said that they're going to change their mind. And so they are farmable soon, but we don't know exactly when that is. But Sir Gorgeous has put out a video for the Sith Raid for Phase 4 where he uses the Nightsisters, and he uses all the old Nightsisters that are totally farmable, you know, like Acolyte and Initiate and Talia and Ventress. So because of that, I still recommend that you get these guys. This is actually the second faction that I actually ask that you focus on, because obviously you're focused on, and you said you were focused on Bounty Hunters for Darkside Territory battles, but Nightsisters would be very, very important for Darkside Territory battles. The new Sith Raid coming up, and also Territory Wars. So definitely put the investment in. Plus, you know that some of these Nightsisters are going to go free to play farmable, hopefully in the next, 1 to 3 months. And if that's the case, then you definitely want to continue developing the rest of the team until that happens. So that way, when it happens, you're kind of ready to go. So Mother Talzin, getting her up, Old Daka, getting her up, those are really important, because once Mother Talzin becomes farmable, you're going to want to finish her off, and you don't want her at gear 1, so you want her maxed out. So you've got her at gear 8, go ahead and finish Mother Talzin off. But if you're looking for factions to focus on, and that's what it sounded like you were really looking for, finish off your Bounty Hunters, because that's what you're in right now, and then move to Nightsisters, making all of your pilots of your ships kind of your side projects, if you will, that you can kind of focus on the side. Another one I noticed that you kind of didn't have finished, and you don't have to finish, but it's a thought, is the Phoenix Squad, because the Phoenix Squad is such a good group, and you can use them in obviously territory battles. In fact, they're required in territory battles. There's a couple of nodes that require them, and I don't know if you can do all of the nodes maxed out, but if you can't, you may want to revisit your Phoenix and just finish them off in a way that allows for you, go up high enough that allows for you to go 6 for 6 in your light side territory battles, because you don't want to drop a ball with the Phoenix Squad in phase 5 all because you didn't have their gear high enough. So this is someone this team you might consider revisiting down the road just a little bit, and maybe raising a few of these characters up after you've gotten your Nightsisters up and your Bounty Hunters. Obviously, Rebels look good. The only consideration for Rebels might be your Rogue One, because there's a specific node for that. And so what I'm specifically talking about are the ones that are down below, like K2SO and Cassian. You may want to invest a little bit of time getting them up to par, unless you're already going 6 for 6 on those nodes in territory battles. And if you are, then you can kind of move past these characters. But otherwise, I would recommend continuing to develop them until you can get 6 for 6 on those battles. Of course, your resistance looks amazing. Another thing to consider is Holdo and Tico will go free to play farmable soon, probably before the Nightsisters, and probably before First Order Executioner if they have their way. And so that means that Holdo is an amazing tank for lots of places, especially the Sith Raid, really designed for the Sith Raid. And so again, you may want to start farming now the gear, because when she turns 7 stars, if you've got a gear 11, all you'll have to do is farm the stars and you're basically done. So it's kind of like a two-edged sword. Make sure you get one side done, and then you don't have to worry about doing both at the same time. So just a consideration on Holdo. And of course, lastly, Sith look really, really good. You got Darth Sion, leveled up even at 4 stars, so that's really good. Even Sith Trooper, although not a lot of people are using him. He works well on the Nightmare team, but, Thrawn just almost works better. And of course, Emperor Palpatine, Nihilus Invader, so that looks really, really good. So all in all, the characters that I would probably focus on as Zeta would probably be, again, Kylo Ren Unmasked. That would really set that team up for success. And you got these guys at like gear 11 and 12 already, so you definitely want to kind of finish this team off. You've got the OG Kylo Ren in First Order, and then of course on that team, the other Zeta that you could do would of course be First Order Stormtrooper. His return fire unique makes him just that much better. Also, I know you use Thrawn in many different team compositions that you utilize, and so his ebb and flow is always a great one to do because it's a unique, so you can use him in any team composition, which you're going to probably use him in any team comp, and the unique just makes him that much better. More tenacity, so he's not getting stunned as often, things like that, and he's going to counter 100% of the time. So because of that, I highly recommend ebb and flow as a Zeta that you consider very shortly, especially with the characters that you have maxed out and what Zetas you already have, considering all of those Zetas. So having looked through all your factions and all your characters, you're doing really well. You're pretty focused. Again, you've gone faction by faction for the most part, and you've really knocked most of the factions out. There's a few Zetas here and there that you could do, such as Kylo Ren Unmasked, that would make that team go from being okay to great. And there's a few characters that are, ship pilots that you should probably focus on and get their gear up a little bit higher because they're helping you get #1 in arena. But all in all, you're doing really well. Again, the two factions, if you're looking for major focus, is finish those bounty hunters and then move on to Nightsisters. And to be honest, Nightsisters are actually, in my opinion, more important than the bounty hunters because Nightsisters can be used virtually anywhere in the game, and bounty hunters are really localized specifically to territory battles. But do what you will. Those two factions definitely focus on. If you have any questions, make sure you hit me up on Discord. You can ask me there anytime, day or night, the questions you need, and private message me, and I'm happy to get back to you. Your team looks really good. It looks like it's working very well for you, and for a year and a half, you are definitely wailing it out, doing a great job. You've been focused on all the right things. Make sure that you tell everybody at Adult Gaming to keep their gaming on, and Warrior out.